Good afternoon and welcome to Solent Sports News. I'm Ollie Johnson with your latest headlines. After this morning's opening ceremony, the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympic Games are officially underway, despite many athletes boycotting the Games for ethical reasons. The president of the International Olympic Committee will meet with Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai, who disappeared after she accused a government official of sexual misconduct, only to reappear weeks later and deny making these accusations. Team GB skier Gus Kenworthy has said publicly that he believes the Games should have been relocated due to the host nation's atrocious human rights stances. One of rugby's most historic competitions, the Six Nations, dawns once again on Saturday. England are wanting to pick themselves up from very poor competition last year and lift their 30th outright title. They firstly travel to Murrayfield to play neighbours Scotland in a game that has so much on the line. With Courtney Lawes and Owen Farrell unavailable, Tom Curry wears the armband for the first time. Eddie Jones believes Curry is the right man to take the team forward.
He reminds me of a young Richie McCaw that was able to lead by example, and as his career progresses there'll be other bits and pieces of his captaincy that goes with that. But at the start of his career it's all about leading by example, getting the team on the front foot, and it goes in line with how we want to play the game.
Liverpool forward pair Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane will face off in Cameroon on Sunday. Egypt was the second team to reach the Africa Cup of Nations final yesterday against Senegal. The two countries have both been runners-up in the last two tournaments and will both be battling to not repeat history. Reds boss Jurgen Klopp hopes to have his stars back in time for Thursday.
I think they will be available, but we will see. So if the one who wins will probably fly back to the home country, their celebration, that's how it is. And I think Tuesday or Wednesday latest, the winner will be back. And the other one probably slightly earlier. So
it's the fourth round weekend of the FA Cup, and there's a host of unusual fixtures as two non-league sides remain. Kidderminster Harriers, who play in the National League South, are the lowest ranked club still in competition. They shocked 2-1 win over Reading in the last round, was one of the highlights of the Cup so far, and they hope to repeat the feat against West Ham in tomorrow's early kick-off. The other club of the non-league pair is Boreham Wood, who visit Bournemouth for Sunday's late afternoon game. It's the first ever fourth round appearance for the National League team, who have yet to concede a goal in their three-game run in the tournament. Southampton are also back in action as they host Coventry City tomorrow at 3 p.m. The two-week winter break has given Ralph Hasenhüttl's side a good chance to recover, with Timo Livramento and Will Smallbone in contention to make a return. It's the first time the two teams have met since April 2012, when the Saints famously sealed Premier League promotion with a 4-0 win. Meanwhile, in women's football, Southampton have already secured their place in the fifth round, beating Championship side Bristol City last weekend. An Ella Morris goal in the first minute of extra time secured a 1-0 win for the Saints to book their place in the next round. They're also in action this weekend, hosting #United in the National League Cup on Sunday in a 2 o'clock kick-off at the Snow Stadium. The men's Solent first team are flying at the top of their Football League table. George Harrison investigated the reasons behind the success and the remaining fixtures.
Solent men's first team are running away in the third tier of the Western League. They currently lead the league by 8 points with 2 games remaining. Here at Test Park is where they train twice a week to maintain their lead. Manager Alex Walker shared why he thinks his team are outperforming the rest of the league.
I think to be honest with you, the buy-in to training, Monday, Fridays, I think for students to come in on a Friday evening and give up their Friday evening for a session is, can be difficult, but they've bought in really well. And the consistency in training and the stuff that we're able to implement is coming out on match days really nicely.
Solent's first game back from the Christmas break was against local University of Southampton's first team. A convincing 4-0 win in the so-called friendly derby has prepared them for their last 3 upcoming games in the league. Keeper Ben Hayward was delighted to have kept a clean sheet against his rivals and produced 2 match-defining moments.
You just beat Uni of Southampton 4-0. How does it feel to beat the local Uni and be the best Southampton Uni football team?
Yeah, it's good, albeit a friendly. It wasn't really a friendly, it's never a friendly against them. So, reputation on the line, and it was good. It's a convincing win. I had to say 2 penalties, but albeit still a good win, convincing.
Solent's next opponents after their derby success were Winchester's first team. Winchester have 2 games in hand and are 8 points behind the leaders. Captain John Basie understands the challenge ahead against their title rivals.
Yeah, I mean, this will be our toughest test, so they're unbeaten as a we. I think they've drawn 1, so we're slightly ahead. But that'll be our toughest test, so it'll be good to hope to beat them.
It ended in a 2-2 draw on Wednesday, which kept a crucial 8-point lead. The skipper actually scored the equaliser in the 88th minute that earned them the point. Their next game is against Cardiff Met's third team in the Western Conference Cup. The title favourites are looking to end the season with much-deserved silverware. Halle Solent.
We now go live to the Ageas Bowl to our cricket correspondent Joe Parker.
Cold Ageas Bowl, but really all the actions will be going on in the capital today at Lords, at the home of cricket, where there's been yet another sacking from the ECB. Earlier this week it was announced that Chris Silverwood and Ashley Giles will leave their positions, and then earlier today Graham Thorpe was also relieved of his duties as the batting coach after what can only be described as a dismal series down under. I spoke to Andrew Miller earlier from Cricket Info about what was going on at the ECB and what they think will happen in the future. So Andrew, thank you very much for joining me today. I see that you're still at Lords. What's been going on this morning?
What hasn't been going on? It's been madness. It's three days, 3 sackings, and still, frankly, no clarity whatsoever. I mean, all we've learnt today is Joe Root's going to stay on as Test captain, which we knew, and Graham Thorpe has lost his job, which we kind of knew as well. We don't yet have any word about who is going to look after the team out in the Caribbean. They're about to fly out to the Caribbean in less than 3 weeks' time now. There's no interim appointments in place. There's not even a selection ability, because they basically sacked the selector because that was Chris Silverwood's role along with everything else he was doing. So they've got no means of picking a squad. They've got no one to coach the squad when they get there. And it's all a bit clueless, frankly. It's another day of chaos at the ECB.
Yes, so on the pitch, obviously some changes needed after what can only be described as a dismal Ashes series. What do you think can be done on the pitch to improve the fortunes against what is a pretty decent West Indies side?
Yes, indeed. I mean, England have not won. They've won 1 series in the Caribbean since 1968, which is incredible when you consider that everyone talks about West Indies being a bit of a soft touch these days compared to their golden age, the 1980s and 90s. But England aren't very good out there, and they haven't been that way for a long time. And Andrew Strauss, actually, he's obviously come in as the interim director of cricket to replace Ashley Giles, and it was almost exactly 13 years ago, almost the exact same circumstances, when he was drafted in as emergency captain this time of year for a tour of the West Indies in the wake of the sacking of Kevin Peterson and Peter Moores. And Strauss didn't quite allude to that moment, but he basically said it's on the players. The players have got to find it within themselves to get better. He essentially said, look to your captain. Joe Root is obviously a guy who's head and shoulders above the rest of the squad at the moment, with 1,700 runs last year at 61, which is 3 times as many runs as anyone else in the team, and he got 6 of the 7 centuries that England scored in 2021 as well. So, I mean, he has done everything possible. He's backed as captain. Essentially, all England can do is look to his example and try to just dig deeper and do better. There's really nothing else they can do in such a short turnaround.
Who do you think will Andrew Strauss bring in to sort of help him out with the West Indies tour? As you say, just a matter of weeks away. Will have to be a pretty quick appointment? Do we know if there's anyone in the pipeline at the minute, or?
He didn't give specifics. He was very guarded, in fact. I mean, literally, he's been in the job less than 48 hours, so you can forgive him for not having all the answers straight away. But it does sound like there are 3 names particularly in the frame. Alex Stewart has been floated. I mean, he's voiced an interest himself, which always helps. He's obviously director of cricket at Surrey, England legend. He's a taskmaster. He's the sort of type of guy who might be able to instill some discipline. But the other guy who actually does seem to be potentially the wild card is Richard Dawson. He's the England young Lions coach. Obviously, they're out in the Caribbean already, which helps, and they're preparing for the World Cup final on Saturday. So the under-19 squad are going great guns there. It's entirely plausible that England will think that the logistics of getting someone out there who's going to have the lie of the land you might as well use the guys in situ already. And I think there's an entirely strong possibility of that. The other alternative, of course, is Paul Collingwood, who was doing the job in Silverwood's absence in the T20 series last week. And again, he would be a solid, safe pair of hands, if not sort of dynamic new start that perhaps England are going to want. But it's so difficult to know quite where they're going at the moment.
Golf's world number one, Bryson DeChambeau, has been forced to deny claims that he was offered upwards of £100 million to join Saudi Breakaway Tour. The 28-year-old withdrew from the Saudi International Tournament due to injuries and had to take to social media to set the record straight. The controversy also includes British player Ian Poulter, who is rumoured to have been offered around £22 million to make the move. The Haas Formula One team have unveiled their livery for the 2022 season, becoming the first F1 team to show off their new look car design. All cars now must include several features aimed at making the sport more competitive for all 10 teams. The changes have been described as the biggest technical overhaul in decades. Fans will get their first real-life glimpse of the new look cars on the 23rd of February at pre-season test events in Barcelona. 2 World Boxing title challengers will go head-to-head on Saturday night. Liam Williams and Chris Eubank Jr. face each other at Cardiff's Motorpoint Arena, where their fierce grudge match will be settled. Many words have been exchanged in the lead-up to the fight, which is certainly looking to be an explosive one. Also on the card is a unified world title bout for the Women's Middleweight Championship, as Claressa Shields defends her belt against Slovenian Emma Kozin. Shields has taken a lot of controversy in the last few months of her career, after proclaiming herself as the greatest woman of all time. Her claims will certainly be put to the test against the two-weight champ. As more people look to play basketball in Britain, Project Swift is providing people with courts to play in, as well as helping people improve their own local grounds. Here's Sam Holmes with more.
As basketball in Britain continues to grow, the infrastructure can't keep up. Courts around the country are being left to rot, with councils not funding the playing areas. And that's where Project Swish comes in. The charity focuses on sending out nets and building courts. Last year alone, 2,700 nets were sent out and nearly 500 outdoor courts were built. HoopsFix founder and board member of Project Swish, Sam Netter, can only see the campaign getting bigger.
Well, its mission is to grow and raise the profile of basketball in the UK. So, we're in the process of applying for a number of different funding bids that hopefully will give us a large amount of resource to deliver on some pretty big projects that we think will have a long-term and scalable impact on basketball in the UK.
British basketball has been growing hugely in recent years, with 280,000 people now playing more than twice a month. Project Swish is providing avenues for people to enjoy the game, as they also regularly hold outdoor tournaments. Former Plymouth Raiders and Newcastle Eagles player Drew Lasker thinks the project is helping massively with the sport and is more popular than ever in this country.
Amongst the youth, obviously it's the second most played team sport in this country, which a lot of people don't know. And now when I see kids dribbling the basketball out, it's not as strange as it was when I used to see it. And so that's becoming more normal. But yeah, I feel like it's moving in the right direction.
BBL teams have always struggled in Europe. Basketball England, the company behind Project Swish, hope the player base they're helping to grow will help improve the quality of teams and maybe even get them challenging in Europe. Solent basketball player Josh Masoki sees the project as a first step of developing talent.
Yeah, I think Project Swish can definitely be great for the basketball community, particularly with the youth, because growing up, it was really hard to get hold of a court in general, let alone a good standard court with a rim. Sometimes they didn't have rims, sometimes they didn't have nets. So with basketball being, growing to be the highest participated sport or second among youth in Britain, it's important to make the kids feel like it's important to them.
With Project Swish continuing to renovate courts like this, the hope is that the standard of British basketball as a whole will improve, maybe even getting us to a competitive level in Europe. Sam Holmes, for Solent Sports News.
That's all for now. Head over to solentjournalism.co.uk for more news.